Welcome to First and Goal, where everything is made up and the points don't matter. Get ready for the latest and hottest topics in the SML. Let's get started. Here's your host, Mad Bomber.
All right, SML, here we go. First and Goal. We've got prime time 000, 19-time SML champ. There's the eyebrow lick, and sure he'll get something from that. Faz, Mike, and QP is going to try and hang with us for the full 4 downs this time.
And then 0 times today, just for the record.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with QP because we don't know how much time he's got with us. So QP, what's a move that you'd like to see one of the contenders make that could put him over the top this season? Think like a non-Big Five team.
I would have liked to see, I think, NYT make a move. I think that he's been right around the cusp, and I'd preferably like to see it on defense. He kind of has a loaded offensive team. He drafted his running backs already. He got his receivers. He has Kyler. I think I'd like to see it something in the secondary to add on to Budda Baker. Isaiah Simmons is already a really good linebacker. Maybe a defensive line or something like that as well. Somebody that was like a Khalil Mack that was on the block for a little bit. I think that you could have enticed Doink maybe. Somebody like a Bobby Wagner that you could add it with Isaiah Simmons. Somebody that's an old X Factor that on a different team that is maybe on the rebuild process like they've been for, the entire cycle. So I'd say NYT. Another one that I would like to have seen would have been Dump. Dump has a lot of really good pieces on defense, and he seems to be struggling when it matters against good teams offensively as well. I would like to see those two make a move.
Okay. Faz, what do you think?
Yeah, so I went with one AFC, one NFC team. To QP's point, I think the only move NYT can make that's going to really help is a move from a job. I think he's probably in trouble. But yeah, so NFC, I'm looking at my boy Clink. He's done a good job building that team. He's added a lot of offensive weapons. Yeah, okay, Prime, you know what? But his defensive line is so bad. He can't stop the run. He can't get a pass rush. It kills him in pretty much all of his close games. He's got to go out there and find a DT or a DN, somebody that can get after the quarterback, somebody that can shed in the run game. I think Frank Clark is tradable this offseason. If I'm Clink, I am sending the house at Coop to try and get Frank Clark. And then Prime's going to like this one. The AFC, I'm talking to Matt, and it's not a player move. I'm ready to see an attitude move. You got to go take down Prime. We know you can do it. We've seen it happen. No more bowing out. These close games. We're the best rivalry in the league. Yeah, no. Just go beat the guy. You can do it.
All right. Mike, what do you think?
This one was easy for me. I went with Posse adding some sort of effective defensive end. The thing that he needs on that defense to make his team better is a pass rush. His leading sack getter is Leonard Williams with 3.5. Everybody else has 1 max, I think. So, everybody knows Posse. He's going to sit back, push his cornerback 7,000 yards back, and let you throw into the teeth of the defense. You get a little bit more pass rush there. Maybe he cuts down on some of that, late routes getting open, as well as perhaps generates a little bit of rush defense, at least on the point of attack, because you beat Posse by either getting open late or running on him. That's how you do it. So, if he adds a game-changing defensive end that can actually break free, get him some sacks there, I think you're in a good position for him. The honorary mention, since we're shitting on NYT, he needs to draft something other than the halfback, and I think he's good to go.
All right. And Prime, finishing this topic up.
Yeah, I think for me, for the Poly comment, by the way, I think you need new defensive coordinators. Change up your whole defensive scheme because you're probably going to win 11 games, but when you play somebody who can actually win games, big games, they know what you're doing. They're going to dice you up. But for me, Faz was going with the Matt comment, but then he kind of moved away from what I thought was going to be a good idea, and that is make a freaking trade, Matt. I mean, this Jaguars team has plenty of pieces that you can move around and actually make a trade. And you're 10-2 right now. We play close games. I know you've beaten some solid players. Make a move, make a push. We probably have 2 seasons left after this one, and see what you can do. So that's who I'm kind of just urging Matt to move one of those defensive pieces, do what you got to do, and try to make that push.
Yeah, I think that Jaguars team, like you mentioned, is really good to build with, and he's just kind of let it develop as it is, and I think that's a mistake. you could have really moved a lot of those pieces for better players. But let's move on to topic 2, talking about guys that made mistakes. Has Doink wasted this cycle and the Bucks' talent by letting Brady walk? I mean, he let him walk with 2-3 seasons left. I think it was 2. And then he continues to force this BT12 or whatever he calls it, and it just looks like it's not really working out. What do you think, Faz? We'll start with you.
Yeah, as somebody who's played him a lot, he really did kind of botch it. Obviously, I started with the Mutt Bucks moniker because they were just that good. They were loaded early on. His window to win was early, and he's just kind of let it slip. He choked against Noel in season 1. He actually got a chance to redo it. Still choked. Couldn't, as teams started to catch up, couldn't do it. And then, I mean, obviously in the question, it brings up releasing Brady and going with this new guy. And I liked, I guess, the thought process behind acquiring Turner, trying to keep himself relevant for the rest of the way. But we've just kind of noticed that Doink is a guy who he needs an X factor quarterback. He needs somebody who is, kind of going to carry the passing game for him. And he just hasn't been able to overcome that. And I think at this point, it's probably too late to go get somebody. So he probably has kind of lost his window with that team.
All right, Mike, what do you think?
The answer is a very easy no. He hasn't, because the expectation was never there. You join a division with Foz and Dan, you're not expected to do anything. He's doing exactly what he's expected to do, which is nothing. So no, he hasn't wasted talent, because there was never any expectation to go further than that.
See, I'll disagree with that though, because
if
you remember Eminem in the Morning, back whenever that existed, Matt took him to win or to get to the Super Bowl in that first season.
Yeah, and
so the
I was high on him too
there.
personally. I was high on him too because you figure that he can produce given some of the talents he had. However, anybody taking that team once the teams were taken ahead of them, I don't think I'm going to consistently say anybody's going to do anything more than maybe a one-off season 1, rush, which is exactly what we saw happen.
Florida, he lost immediately.
Yeah. But that's the only time that he's been competitive in that thing.
All right, Prime, what do you think?
Yeah, Mike is dead wrong. And here's why. So first of all, he had 2 strong seasons to start. And he lost to Noel once in the playoffs, and I forget who else he lost to. Was it? I don't even know who he lost to. But he's totally wasting that talent, because instead of trying to ride it out with Tom Brady, he trades for a normal dev quarterback when it's incredibly hard to develop a quarterback in general. And with Tom Brady then, when I had offered him a first-round draft pick for Tom Brady, he decides just to let the guy walk for nothing. He doesn't sign him to a 1-year contract and trade him. He doesn't franchise tag him and trade him. He literally lets the guy hit free agency. I mean, that's awful. That's just terrible. And then he gets this, what's this guy's name, Turner, has a bad season with him, loses to Fins, misses the playoffs, and then he doubles down on it, and he's like, no, I'm going to run with the same guy again, guarantee a playoff victory, and now he's probably going to miss the playoffs. I mean, that's, you can say what you want about expectations, but Doink's expectations that he's going to win a playoff game this year, and he's not even going to make it. So, yeah, that's just completely wasted the Mutt Bucks team, wasted Tom Brady's last year, I think, and then he's just fumbled the ball on Turner when everybody knows he can't win without an elite quarterback. Just miserable.
No. All right, QP, what do you think?
Oof.
Oh, and he mutes himself.
He's muted. Oh, no.
I've been muted for so long.
Yep, there you go.
So a little bit of what Prime said, I'm going to say just a little bit nicer. We saw what Field did as soon as he got Tom Brady. Yep. Right when he got Tom Brady, his offense became way better. He turned actually into a pretty formidable opponent. You couldn't sleep on his offense. He was putting up 400 pass yards a game, and Brady was 70 years old. So I think that with a guy that had the expectations like Doink, like Fast said, he was a dark horse to be a Super Bowl favorite. And then when he was the Raiders, he was making moves that really put him in post or pre-blip, obviously. He was making moves that put him into that category of, okay, he's all chips in. Let's see what he can do now. And then he turned it around. He took the Bucks, which is an all chips in team right away because they are the Mutt Bucks. They're loaded. And he kind of dissembled them. Like they're falling apart. There's no more defensive line players. There's no Tom Brady. It's just Mike Evans, Lenny Fournette, Godwin, and it feels like that's about it. It was a failure. It was a failed project. Turner's the failed project. Doink was again a Super Bowl favorite, a dark horse. And now it's like Prime said, his goal is to get to the playoffs at this point. That's what we're kind of pacing him at. And to the point where Mike is now saying his expectations are 0. Yeah. So I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, I mean, he went from a doinked field goal against Faz in the playoffs from winning to now he has no expectations. So that's probably so. Let's keep shitting on Doink and the Primer Posse here with topic 3. We saw Doink, like we said, a doinked field goal away from beating Faz in the playoffs to where he is now. Bean went from a number 2 seed to where he is now. And Monty, he talked about him being possible Super Bowl contender. And all 3 of them are in serious jeopardy of missing the playoffs. Do you think the SML figured him out? Prime, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think everybody's got unique situations a little bit. Doink obviously just kind of blew his foot off a little bit. He didn't shoot himself in the foot. He legit just blew it off. Monty, I don't know what to think about Monty, honestly. I don't even know if Monty knows what to think about Monty sometimes. So I don't know. As for No Bean, I actually kind of think No Bean's a good player. I've played him quite a bit, and I actually think he's got some potential. But the problem is, again, all 3 of these guys seem to have potential, but they can't get out of their own way. I mean, No Bean in late game situations will turn away from Derrick Henry and throw it into quadruple coverage. Monty will, play field goal block defense, it feels like, and Doink will just find a way to lose in the biggest games that he can. So I don't know. I just think they just can't handle the moment yet, and maybe it's something they'll grow into. But they're close. None of them can find a way to get the cigar, I guess.
All right, QP, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it is. None of them lack the leadership role. None of them want to step up and take that claim as the guy. They honorary gave it to Spades. Spades was their guy. He was the leader. He was the king. He was the guy that got them through. When everybody was chomping at the Primer posses, they were all literally, Spades was their guy to use as the example of being the power guy, the powerhouse. Since then, they're all kind of looking at each other. Oh, we're all about the same talent level. We're all about the same. So nobody's stepping up and taking the mantle of being the leader of the group. Therefore, they're all just being average. Monty does have, I think, maybe the best potential, but maybe the division he's in. And again, you never know if he's going to be alive. He's a gambling addict. He might get in deep with the sharks. You don't know what's going to happen. So but I would say that he would be probably the best one to take a hold of that group.
Wait, hold on. QP just said I was being a little mean, and now this guy just said Monty, you don't know if he's going to be alive. I mean, goodness gracious.
I think that's just a realistic concern. All right,
I've seen the movies.
Faz, what do you think?
Oh man, this show's been great. Me, Prime, and Q are just dunking on people, and Stone Cold Mike is just silent in the corner. I don't even think he smiled yet.
The neutral video.
Mike is pure kayfabe.
Oh man,
no selling.
Yeah, so the SML has definitely figured out the Primer Posse, and on top of.
Oh no!
Fast.
Oh, Thanos Club does not do well on this show.
Oh, Faz.
What was the betting line on Q not being the one to disconnect?
Oh.
Did Faz recover his own fumble? We'll find out soon.
Help! My Discord just crashed. What's going on?
Can you guys see his camera?
Am I live?
No, it looks like he fumbled. He tried to get. Now his camera's coming back, I think. Hold on.
It might even be in the right order.
Oh, no, we didn't.
It's still spinning.
Yeah.
Am I here? I see everybody.
Yep, I see you.
All right, and it's still in the right order. Good. Okay.
Yes, I recovered my first clutch fumble. This is impressive. Big moment for Carolina here.
Yeah, I'm not even.
Anyway, yeah, we figured out the Primer Posse, and on top of figuring out, we've kind of destroyed them. Monty's to the point he's given up on the game. Bomber and Q have beat him up so bad. He's kind of called it quits again. Everybody knows it's the defense. He couldn't stop anything. Doink has, he's dismantled his whole team trying to recapture the magic we've dumped on him probably plenty. Being like Prime said, I think he actually has probably the most potential as a player, or at least as a complete player as the rest. But my gosh, I've never seen somebody so bad at like utilizing their players when needed. He won't go to Tyreek Hill pretty much ever. When he does, he's like too late because he hasn't adjusted to his speed. And then, when he needs to kill the clock, that's the time of the game where he just avoids Derrick Henry like the plague. So he's got to figure that one out. And until he does do that, the Primer Posse does not have a lot of hope in SML futures.
All right. Go ahead, Mike. Tell us why we're all wrong and the Primer Posse is the greatest thing on earth.
Well, you guys aren't wrong, for one. The thing that I think is more in play here is that people eventually are who they are. And anybody can come in hot and present one look. But from myself, going back since I've had more experience with these guys than anybody from Primer, none of them were ever top-end gameplay guys. Mont won a Super Bowl down there one time, but he also got shut out by me 27-0 in the regular season. So, you got the duality there that goes into play. And ultimately, I didn't see, tippy top, let's see, top 5 upside for any of these guys. And I think that's what we're seeing here. All of them can play, all of them can compete, and they've all made playoffs. But in terms of consistent, I am elite, that was never an option for him. And you're seeing that SML is a tough league. Everybody can beat anybody any given time, but the cream does rise to the top, and those guys are not part of that top.
All right, so those guys are not cream. All right, so we just shit all over the Primer Posse. We might as well just carry this on for what's become a tradition here on First and Goal. Let's shit on QB. And we'll start with you, Mike, since I know how you like to shit on him the most. Was the QB win over RD, was that an indication that QB is figuring it out, or just how far RD has fallen off? And I know this one's going to be a really tough topic for you.
Yeah, you're right. It is tough for me. I've got a pretty good relationship with both those guys. But honestly, I'm not going to take the cop-out answer, which is probably a little bit of both. I'm going to lean toward RD falling off is more of the thing here, because I've yet to see anything good from RD in terms of getting back to where he was before. He's a big defensive guy. He's a big run-the-ball guy. Not doing either of those particularly well, whereas QB is sort of maybe a little bit trending toward at least being able to play a little bit of defense. Was a rough start for him. Definitely did not hit the ground running against Prime. But this last time he played him better, beat RD. It seems like he's getting a little bit more comfortable with the game, whereas this just is not a Madden for RD. Clearly, what he does well is not a benefit for this Madden. So if I had to choose, it's definitely more RD falling off than QB coming back, but it's probably a little bit of both.
Okay, and if you could just remind us, since you said it's RD falling off, where was he before?
RD is and still will be, when he gets the right game, a top player in my mind.
A top player or the top player?
Well, I mean, if we're going back, 5 cycles when I didn't know any of you guys, absolutely.
Was anybody even playing CFM then, or was it just Dan?
No, I mean, I'm saying you guys are referencing a comment taking from context based on a long time in the past.
I am, and I was really hoping you'd just make it again so I didn't have to search through, but we'll move on.
I don't have to make it again, because RD, in terms of what he can do and what he has shown on the field, is a competitive player and does stake claim to a top spot when he's playing well and when the game works for him, which is currently not right now.
Okay. All right, Prime, what do you think?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. So I think that RD's fallen off. And yeah, I never thought he was quite really the greatest Madden player ever, but I thought he was good last cycle. I thought last Madden really complimented him well, and I think that this Madden doesn't compliment him at all. As for QB, he's kind of been an up and down Madden player since he joined. Now his highs are really high, but his lows are kind of low. Yeah, I think he's figured it out a little bit. I mean, when I played him the first time, I probably could have scored a jillion, and this time I only scored like 20 points. So I think he's getting better. I kind of have to mimic Mike though and say a little bit of both. I mean, QB is getting better, but RD, I think at this point we can't really say, hey, he's going to get better. I mean, this is what it is with RD. I mean, he's just kind of a solid player. He can still beat kind of a poor man's D Muse, or maybe even we can make the comp to No Bean a little bit. I mean, both similar records probably. Both gonna, hey, I don't want to lose to this guy, but he might beat me. I mean, that's kind of what RD is at this point, and QB could get to that point, I think, as well if he continues to improve. But I don't think he's going to be a consistent elite player this cycle. Okay,
and QP.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more RD than it is QB. I wasn't around for the QB era, the 19-0 era, the best era. I wasn't there for that. I was there for RD being the man. And so for him, I would say that it's a little bit more him. Obviously, everybody remembers. I kind of took RD's spot in this Big Five category. He was the guy last Madden. He won some Simbardies. He was really good, in my opinion. He was really good. So I would say it's a little bit more RD than it is QB. QB is getting it back, though. I do fully expect to see a 17-2 run, maybe a 16-3 run from QB, and take hold of the AFC South.
Oh, shut up.
Does he know he's the Texans? I mean, is Q what's going on here? He's still the Texans.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. I believe a 10-win season is coming for QB next season.
Okay.
I don't know where you're going to find
schedule is, but
doesn't matter. He was 19-0 before.
Just check his Twitch. It's still on there. Faz, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that logo will be on that Twitch till the end of time. Yeah, this one I think has to be RD. With QB, I think so far the only thing he's really figured out is how to not be like playing with his eyes closed. So it's definitely a little better, but the floor was so low that I don't know that figuring that out was much of anything. RD, I think this was the concern with RD. We talked about it a good bit on shows last cycle, and we saw it. RD really hit his stride halfway through the cycle. And then he played Prime in the Super Bowl, and that was kind of the end of that. I don't think he made it back to the Super Bowl after that one. I figured out a little bit of run defense, and it started to stop him. So kind of halfway through last cycle, we started to see RD kind of maybe come back down to earth a little bit. And I think the concern was that, if the game changes, which obviously last cycle, every running back is running for 9 yards, didn't matter their size, their speed, anything. That fit RD's game perfectly. And we were worried that, if this game was different and it's still somewhat easy to run, but it's nothing like last cycle, is that RD might suffer. And he has. His offense has taken a hit. Looking at the box score of that game, 12 for 17 passing, 200 yards, no touchdowns, 2 picks. He only ran for 3.7 yards a carry with Najee. So I mean, this offense is just not one that's very dynamic, and he's really having a hard time adjusting. So I think it has to be more RD than QB.
All right, and that's gonna do it for this week's episode. And it looks like Faz has figured out how to win on first and goal, because with 112 points, Faz is gonna get the win. Faz, these 30 seconds, all yours.
Well, I would like to take these 30 seconds now that I'm very accustomed to winning first and goal. And I want to take them and use a moment of silence for the Jurtle. This was a tough one to hear, the loss of one of my favorite moves. It was very fun hopping around the field like a bunny, preferably with tight ends. You get those big fat guys, thick boys just bouncing back and forth. It was a blast.
Very realistic.
Jurtle, we'll never forget you. It was a great time.
All right, so that's been the show. Faz is unfamiliar with what a moment of silence actually is. And
well, everybody was supposed to stop after, but I couldn't really count on you guys.
Yep. So that's been this week's first and goal, where I think we did a pretty good job shitting on people. So looking forward to next week. Thanks for being on, guys.
Thanks for listening to First and Goal. Be sure to check out Mad Bomber TV on Twitch and YouTube for the latest from the SML. And we'll see you next time on First and Goal.